Hello, commissioners.
Hello.
Hello.
Good
Hi.
evening. Good evening.
Good evening. I have just landed, and let's see here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 2, 5. Okay, yeah, we have a quorum. I have just landed, and it looks like our applicants are here as well. I'm going to turn my video off because I'm going to be moving around just a little bit and do not want that to be a distraction for this evening. Let's see here. At this time, I would like to call our October meeting to order. Staff, would you please sound roll call to establish a quorum?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Mark Fields. Commissioner Mark Fields.
Commissioner Fields, if you are present, you are on mute, perhaps, or we can't hear you.
Commissioner Joel Presley. Commissioner Gregory Fan. Commissioner McKnight.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Lovett.
Present.
Commissioner Bryant.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Joseph Fields.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Fields.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have a quorum.
All right, thank you so very much. Our next item on the agenda is a moment of silence. And so, commissioners, I would ask that if you would, and also those who are joining us for this meeting, join us in a moment of silence. And as you do so, please be just thoughtful of all of the tragedies, the destruction, and the death that is happening, not only in Gaza, but in other parts of the world as well. So if you would please join me in a moment of silence. Okay, very well. Thank you so very much. Commissioners, our agenda is before us, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt our agenda as presented.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the
Okay.
agenda as presented. Thank you.
Thank
Second.
you. It's been moved by Commissioner Lovett, second by Commissioner McKnight, that we adopt our agenda as presented. All in favor, sound aye.
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 All opposed, sound no. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Our agenda is adopted. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the August 17, 2023 minutes, as well as the September 21st, 2023 meeting minutes. Commissioners, at your leisure, I will entertain a motion for approval of those meeting minutes from our August and September meetings.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair, I
Chairman.
move, go ahead.
Mr. We
Mr. Chairman.
don't have September yet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much. So do we just have August?
Yes.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion regarding the adoption of the approval of our August meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Bryant.
I make a motion that we approve our August 17th, 2023 meeting.
Okay, thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Bryant that we approve the August 17, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Lovett, that we approve our August 17, 2023 meeting minutes. All in favor sound aye.
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 All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Our August 17, 2023 meeting minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is old business. Commissioners, we have tonight 3 cases for old business. Our first is a special use permit with a concurrent variance. That is case number 2023 U as an umbrella -001-07 with a concurrent variance 2023 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -001-07. The applicant is Goldberg's Group Commissary LLC. The address is 1486 Willingham Drive. We have actually, for all of these cases, we have met the letter of the law and had public hearings. However, as has been a part of our practice, we will allow any comment from the applicant and those in attendance if they would like to make comments on these, but this is not a public hearing on these items tonight. So we do have our applicant, I believe. Mr. Passanti, are you present?
Mr. Chairman, I'm present on behalf of Goldberg's.
Okay. Mr. Passanti, is there anything that you would like to say regarding your case this evening?
Same application as we've had previously. I tendered a letter to the commission today, which emphasized the economic impact of the project as we've proposed it, and would hope that the planning commission would recommend this to the city council.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Passanti. Are there any others here present this evening that have any comments regarding this case?
Mr.
Any
Chair,
others? Yes, Ms. Solomon.
we have about 3 other attendees this evening. Would you like me to go down the list to ask them if they would like to speak in favor?
If you would, please.
Thank you. Phone number ending in 8214. Would you like to speak in favor of the zoning case before you? Alex Chaves, would you like to speak in favor of the zoning case before you this evening?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the Peachy. I'm not on this case. I'm on the Peachy
Okay.
case. Yeah.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Holloway, would you like to speak in favor of the case before you this evening? Mr. Paul, would you like to speak in favor of the case before you this evening? As well as Mr. Will, would you like to speak in favor of the case before you this evening?
I have no comment on this case.
Thank you. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we are done with the attendees for this evening.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Solomon. I would at this time like for the record to reflect that we have also been joined by Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Miller, could you please sound present for the record?
Present.
Thank you so very much. Okay. So our first case under old business. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation for this agenda item?
No problem. Thank you and good evening, everyone. In regards to item 1 of old business, case 2023 U-001-07, 2023 VC-001-07, address 1486 Willingham Drive. The special use request and variance staff recommendation does not change from the last hearing, and reason being we did not need to add any additional recommendations outside the scope of what's allowed in the code. With that information stated, staff recommended to approve 1, the special use permit and the variance, and with 1 condition to be added for consideration before this board. And I'll read that condition again for the record, that condition number 1, 1 trash receptacle must be provided and enclosed on 3 sides with a masonry material. That was the recommendation and condition by staff. and I'll be happy to answer any questions in regards to this petition or petitions.
We'll have to get to any of those questions once we have a motion, Mr. McSwain. So thank you so very much. Commissioners, staff has recommended approval with one condition, as you have just heard. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, is that, Commissioner Fields, is that correct?
yes, Joseph Hill. I recommend that we approve the special use permit as well as based on the, no, that's my motion. I recommend that we approve and send this on to council for final.
Commissioner Fields, could you repeat that? I heard your recommendation for approval, and then you said some other things. I could not hear that clearly. Could you please repeat?
Yes, I recommend that I make a motion that we approve the request for special use permit and the variance.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second? Commissioner Fields, your motion dies for the lack of a second. Commissioners, I'll entertain another motion on this agenda item. Commissioners, we will need to dispose of the agenda item. If there is any party who would like to have discussion on this agenda item, we must first have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner McKnight.
I couldn't, I would like to make a motion on the case, but without seeing the minutes from September's meeting, I'm not quite sure of the deferrals that's been taking place or much on this case. So I don't know. I would hate for the applicant to not have an opportunity for something where it actually dies. So anyway, that's my,
Well,
it's more of a statement and a question.
okay.
It's been deferred, you know, I apologize. Hi, everybody. I have missed the September meeting and I just wanted to get up to speed on this particular case, why the deferrals.
Okay.
So
So
if there's any questions.
what will happen on that, Commissioner McKnight, is in order for us to have any discussion or deliberation on it, we will need a motion. And the motion could be to approve for discussion. The motion could be to deny. The motion could be to approve the special use and not the concurrent variance, or to approve the one or the other, any of those things. It's whatever you feel that any member of the body would like to make. So it could be a motion to approve for discussion, or to, as I mentioned, a recommendation to deny, or anywhere in between that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Fields, Mark.
I make a motion to approve with a condition for a retail space.
Okay, is there a second? There's a motion on the floor to approve with the retail. Was that Commissioner McKnight?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve with the condition of a retail space. There's been a second by Commissioner McKnight. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns regarding this?
And actually, I'm sorry, this should be in addition to it, because I believe the staff had recommendations for a trash receptacle on 4 sides. It's not that condition. That part is not clear to me. Is it 4 sides of the receptacle or 4 sides of the building for the trash? The statement wasn't all that clear for me.
Okay. Staff, could you please elaborate on that?
Yes, thank you for the question, and everyone. The condition was mentioned that there is a lack of trash receptacle on the site, and then that this trash receptacle, as a condition, there should be one with at least 3 sides to be at least constructed of a masonry material.
Okay, thank you. And as it relates to Commissioner Fields, Mark Fields, you've made a motion to approve with the condition of a retail component, and Commissioner McKnight has seconded that. Commissioner McKnight had some questions regarding the staff's condition, and with that explanation, would you accept as a friendly amendment to add that condition to your motion, Commissioner Fields?
Yes, I would.
Okay, Commissioner McKnight, does your second still stand?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns regarding this agenda item?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't see who that is. I see a hand raised, but
It's Joseph Fields. That's my hand raised, Mr. Chairman. Oh, am I still on? Hello?
We can hear you,
We can hear you.
Mr. Fields.
Okay, thank you.
I hear you.
yes,
I hear
I'm
you,
sorry,
Commissioner.
I was muted. Yes, you have the floor, Commissioner Fields, Joseph Fields.
Okay, you know, and just to say a few words about this particular case, we've gone back and forth with it, and unfortunately, the chairman has vehemently asked for this retail kitchen be included with this application, which in fact, in order to move forward with the application, there's no reason to include a retail kitchen since we went back and forth with this particular subject on the previous 2 meetings, and that it's not called for, nor can applicant actually include a retail component to this to his request, because this, first of all, it's not necessary, and it's not conducive for retail in the area where this particular building is being located. So I think that the suggestion for a retail space is uncalled for, and that this would inflict a hardship on the applicant. And within our ordinances, we don't have the authority to require him to do that. Our purview is basically on whether or not the emissions from the operations are going to spill over into the community. In fact, when he was here the last time, they explained that they have taken care of that with a system of exhaust above and through the roof. Now, those are the only things within the ordinance that we actually have a purview on. Other than that, we really don't have standing to require that this particular applicant put within his organization something that, first of all, they cannot do, and it would be, and also, in order for them to even try to do it, would create a hardship. And the retail space for that area, which is on Willingham Drive, is not conducive for foot traffic anyway. So I just want to make that clear to the commissioners who are who don't recognize that, and I want to put forth my objection to that particular stipulation within the recommendation. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you. I yield.
Is it open for this? We're in discussion or?
Yes, open for this.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair is muted.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I'm having some technical difficulties
Oh,
trying to
that's
do this on my phone. But yes, we are in discussions, and Commissioner Fields, thank you so very much for your comments. If you would please lower your hand. I am then going to recognize Commissioner Lovett. Commissioner Lovett, you're up next.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This question is to staff. On your receptacle requirement, is that are you stipulating in the front, back, or side for the receptacle?
Sorry about that. I was muted. Commissioner Levitt, I believe, asked a question about the location of the trash receptacle. The condition does not mention the actual location, but the intended area for discussion that we have with the applicant, and ideally, the only space that they would have would be in the rear of the lot.
So are we saying it needs to be at the rear of the lot, or are we giving them the option to have it on either the left side, right side, or the rear? Or do we even need to be that specific with that part? Do we just need to say they need to have a trash receptacle?
I believe, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Commissioner McKnight. Yeah, so the answer that our code does have regulations of where trash receptacles are to be and the screening for those. It's just the lack of that being on the site at this moment triggered the reason to put it as a condition, but more so than likely, we have supplemental standards so that will protect it and have it outside of being unsightly. So it would more than likely be governed by the code that it would be restricted to the rear or the side of the property, given that proper screening that's given.
Okay. So really what we're recommending is that it's brick. The trash receptacle is brick and not necessarily of the location, because we have another department that would approve that, right? So I just want to make sure that it's clear for, you know, whoever reads it after. Like, I know I'm understanding because we're having this discussion what you mean. I just want to make sure that it's clear as it goes on and survive. That's all.
Understood.
So do we so we made the change? Are we able to put that on the screen with the recommendations is? Or I should say.
Yes, so if you would like, Commissioner McKnight, we can add that to the condition as it relates to rear or side, but and I don't think that there's anything wrong with adding that as an extra layer, just to make sure that we are clear in terms of where that receptacle should go.
Yeah, I think is from what he was saying that the biggest thing is just for it to at least be brick enclosed. Let's see. Must be enclosed with the brick masonry around, or the material that's actually used. The location, I don't think that's what he was actually saying. Must be provided and enclosed with brick, with a masonry material.
Right. So
on either,
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You may continue.
No, I was just reading it. I think the word might have to be switched around where it's saying one trash receptacle must be provided with a masonry material and enclosed on either of the three sides of the building. I think that's what you're saying, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Because reading it right now is saying you have to have at least in my mind, is saying it has to be on all three sides. I'm like, want the trash on all three sides?
Okay, so yeah, so
Yeah.
if we could just make sure we get some language just for clarification around that. And I am typing up for consideration to add to Commissioner Fields' condition. And because I am sitting in the airport, I hope that everyone can hear me and that noise in the back is not distracting.
No problem. I can
Okay.
hear you.
Thank you. I am drafting up something here regarding the retail component that I will speak to momentarily. Let me go back to a screen that I can see everyone. I believe Commissioner Lovett, did you have your hand raised?
I was just going to just clear up the question that I had, but I think it's already clear about the placement of the trash can.
Okay.
And the reason for my being so specific about the placement of it is because I know what's on Willingham, and I have seen one business, or maybe two in particular, that have the receptacles within view of the street.
Okay, so what you're asking, if I understand correctly, Commissioner Lovett, is that we condition that the receptacle be out of view from the Willingham Drive side of the building, which is
Yes.
the main corridor, and but in accordance with the zoning code, because I think the zoning code speaks to like placement of those things.
Right.
That is what you're asking. Okay,
Yes.
staff, could you please type that up?
Thank
Out of
you.
view from the, sure, out of view from the Willingham Drive. But within compliance with city building code.
And then you can just take out that part enclosed on three sides, because it's not going to be enclosed on all three sides.
The receptacle must be enclosed on three sides. It's not the building, it's the receptacle where you put the garbage. I'm trying to clear it up for everyone. It's a dump for the garbage that's being generated by the business that they have to put in a particular designated area. So it's not to blow all over the place. And the receptacle is going to be enclosed on three sides so that you can get a truck in there, something to actually remove it when it's time to pick up the garbage. That's why it's enclosed on three sides. The fourth side have to be open to allow access. I hope that's cleared up a little bit for you.
Yes, I think that
Yeah,
we were
well-
clear. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It
Commissioner
is. I
Gray.
mean, at first I thought it was actually talking about three sides of the building. I'm like, wait a minute,
That is
and
correct.
not just the receptacle itself. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that
if
was the
everyone-
question. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was the question that we wanted to clarify, Commissioner Fields, Joseph Fields, is that the
Yes.
language said on three sides. And so we want to make sure that we're talking about three sides of the receptacle and not three sides of the building. So
Exactly.
that's the clarification that we were going for here.
Yes, that's it.
Anyone else with a raised hand? Let's see here. Commissioner Lovett, I've just recognized you. Anyone else? Comments, questions, or concerns? So I would like to add a bit to this also, and I have finished writing the things that I need to write, and I'll go over soon. But before I get to that, I just want to go back, commissioners, you know that I've been, I think Commissioner Fields said I've been very arduous in my quest for a retail component of this, and he's exactly correct on that piece. And there's a very good reason why I have done that. And I don't think that that is just something that I've done in isolation or a vacuum. I have done this fully and solely in compliance with the Willingham Corridor Study that I have mentioned several times, because this is the third month that we are hearing this case. And so because of that, I want to read just a couple of parts of this for the record and for everyone's reference and understanding and my context around this. We have received and we have deliberated for months, and we have worked with the consultant Kimberly Horn, that has also worked with the Atlanta Regional Commission to help to create a study for the Willingham Corridor. That included a lot of months of planning, that included a tremendous amount of community engagement, and that also included them coming before this body for our input, where we had an opportunity to edit, amend, so that we could then send that on with a document that we felt very strongly about and proud of for the mayor and council to then have the final vote on that. On page 29 of the PDF version of this, the document states that retail demand generated by local residents is relatively low compared to demand generated by local workers and airport visitors. Drawing in local employees and airport visitors is crucial to realizing retail redevelopment within the corridor. This potential customer base could support substantial retail development if captured. Those are not just my words, Commissioner Fields. Those are the words of the document. And that's a part of the reason that I have been so adamant about this. That same page further goes on to say about retail development. It says, to build on recent success, the corridor must continue to evolve to take advantage of strong demographic growth and surrounding redevelopment, particularly around adding walkable amenities. So Commissioner Fields, you talked about that there was not foot traffic there. We understand that, but we're not planning for what is today. We're planning for the future. And that's why this is critically important. To attract multifamily development like retail or park space. Those are not my words, Commissioner Fields. I have the floor, sir. I will recognize you once you raise your hand. That is the way we operate. I know that you understand that.
Do understand that.
So, okay. And then the study further goes on page 75, and it talks about the proposal and the reimagined headquarters district on the Willingham Corridor. And it goes on to talk about food manufacturing, and it references specifically Arden's Garden. And then it goes on to say brewery and mini food hall. What Goldberg is proposing to do here, like a brewery, is to create or manufacture food. And the study also then goes on to talk about a mini food hall, which is the retail component of that. So these are not just my words, but these are the words of a study that was done by consultants that were hired and in conjunction with the Atlanta Regional Commission. I would also add that the city of East Point has also adopted an equity statement. That equity statement is a result of a study that was done by the Morehouse School of Medicine as a part of the demographic study that it did to help bolster and create a comprehensive plan for the city that responded directly to the needs of the city. And I'm going to read a portion of that equity statement. That equity statement states that East Point will prioritize health equity through policies that reinforce and address access to healthy foods. That is a statement directly from the equity statement. And when we talk about healthy food and healthy food options, that study also identified the fact that there are food deserts, vast food deserts in the city of East Point. So I am challenged to understand why there would be any pushback on an opportunity to provide healthier food options for the health of the citizens of the city. In my previous statement, in my conversations with Mr. Passante last month, I said that what I hear is that Goldbergs will bring fresh foods to this community, but they can't have any. I'm going to go a step further tonight and also say that I am also sensing that what Goldbergs is saying, that we want to be in the community, but not of the community. And I find that a bit challenging.
I don't sense,
Commissioner Fields, you're out of order, sir. When I recognized you, no one interrupted you. And you know that I always want to make sure that when I recognize anyone to speak, that I give them the floor. And I am expecting and demanding the same, sir. Please do not interrupt me. If you raise your hand, I will recognize you. You will have an opportunity to say what you would like to say. And so I also would like to hit another point on this. Commissioner Fields, you also said that you feel that it is not within our purview. So I am asking if our attorney, Attorney Wiggins, are you present this evening?
Yes, Chairman, I am here.
Okay. There was something that Commissioner Joseph Fields mentioned about exhaust, and that is the only thing that we would have purview over as it relates to this case. I disagree with that. I think that we are here tonight because the use that the applicant is seeking requires a special use permit, which allows this body an opportunity to weigh in and to provide conditions if it deems necessary. Please correct me on all of those points if I am mistaken.
Yes, Chairman. So I was looking at the zoning code where it talks about the planning commissions. Let me get to it. Give me 1 second. Where it was talking about you guys' powers and duties. It's in section 10-1011. And it reads in pertinent part that the Planning and Zoning Commission shall have the following powers and duties in administration of the zoning ordinance. I'll skip to the portion that's relevant to this conversation. For variances, it says variances from the provisions or requirements of the ordinance shall be authorized only upon making all of the following findings. By reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific lot, or by reason of exceptional topographic conditions which were not created by the owner or applicant. B is that the requested variance does not go beyond the minimum necessary to afford relief and does not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the zoning district. C, relief, if granted, would not cause substantial detriment to the public good or impair the purposes and intent of this ordinance. No variance may be granted for a use of land or building or structure that is prohibited by this ordinance. No variance may be granted that would conflict with or alter a stipulation or condition imposed by the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council. D, no variance shall be granted by the Planning and Zoning Commission that permits the expansion or enlargement of any non-conforming use of land and buildings in combination, etc., combination of land, structures, buildings. No variance shall permit the reestablishment of any non-conforming use. And then lastly, conditions resulting from existing foliage or structures bring about a hardship whereby a sign meeting minimum letter size, square footage, and height requirements cannot be read. And that one does not apply. So based on your authority and powers, it does not specifically speak to not being able to add specific conditions. I will say that any condition that you guys add has to be legal, has to be in compliance with our local laws and or state laws. So if there was ever a condition that would have been illegal anyway, I would highly recommend and suggest that that not be considered by this body. There are specific actions that are outlined for like administrative review of permits or any type of special use permits, and none of them in these code sections that I'm reviewing speak to the prohibition of the addition of conditions. I would reiterate, though, the need for any conditions to be in compliance with code and any law that would govern this property.
Okay, thank you. And the two conditions that we have discussed thus far, one being the receptacle and the building materials used to construct that, and the other piece being a retail component of that. Are those things illegal or outside of the law for the city of East Point of the state of Georgia?
So I am looking, Mr. Chair, at the zoning designation for this property. So give me 1 second. I just need to go to another code section of the ordinance to be able to answer that question.
Sure. Thank you. Give us some time to continue to write.
The my question is, let me just look really quickly, 1486 Willingham, L1. Oh, can you go back, whoever's working the Zoom? Sorry, I was referring to something on the screen. Right there, thank you. So this is my question to staff, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
It has here that the current zoning is CR.
Attorney Wiggins,
Yes?
that is a written error. That is a typo, so it should be
Okay.
industrial. Yes, ma'am. And that
I
will
was
also be reflected in the zoning map in a few slides down.
Thank you, because that's what was throwing me, was that it had CR, but I thought it was light industrial. Okay, I'm tracking now. So Mr. Chair, with that understanding, give me 1 second, please.
Sure, take your time and make some time.
Thank you.
So I will first note that for the correct zoning in this, for this property in section 10-2079, which is the I or L1, the light industrial zoning district, one of the permitted uses that are allowed without any permit or permission is under subsection 29, restaurants, bars, grills, taverns, cafes, drive-in, fast food facilities, and similar eating and drinking establishment. And then it goes on to talk about drive-throughs. So I will first say that if the retail that's being described in this condition falls within an allowed permitted use in L1, then it wouldn't be an illegal addition, an illegal added condition.
Is that
That's
I1?
first.
I just want to make sure I1, not L1, correct?
Yeah, well, it's light industrial. I think that L is supposed to be, I think it's a lowercase L, but you're
Okay.
right. I1,
Okay.
L1, same thing. Yes.
Okay, got you. Thank you. All right.
The other thing that I know in this same code section under subsection B is about accessory uses. And accessory uses and structures incidental to any legal permitted use A reads retail sales and services must be conducted in access wholly within the building, housing the use to which the activities are accessory to. So if there were any retail component to the primary use of the building, it would have to be housed within the primary building, not in some ancillary or other building on the site. Getting to the next observation. Is that the code section you're putting up, Taylor? Thank you for doing that. The applicant is asking for a special use permit for a particular use as allowed by 10-2079, and that would be under subsection D8, the manufacturing, wholesaling, repairing, compounding, assembly, processing, preparation, packaging of treatment articles, foods, et cetera, et cetera. So if the special use permit is granted, a condition allowing an accessory use for retail sales could be allowed. I would then recommend and suggest that this board be a little more specific as to what those retail sales looks like. Just because of how general that condition was worded, it doesn't provide much direction for the applicant to ensure that in complying with that condition, it meets the intent of this board's recommendation, obviously provided city council approves it as this board sends it up.
And I'm working on that right now. As you're speaking, I'm writing and I'm almost done. So I think that I may have something for the commission to consider as a part of that, but you can continue if you still need more time.
No, I've read through the ordinance, and what I can offer is that the zoning district allows for retail as an accessory use, and it also allows for restaurants, cafes, bars, grills. I think she has it on the screen, the list as a permitted use. So when I said earlier is that any condition cannot be in violation of what's allowed there already, it wouldn't be. I just think that your consideration would be more so around what that looks like, and any additional details as to not make it an impossibility for compliance.
Okay, thank you so much. The other thing that I will add to that, thank you, Attorney Wiggins, to that is I have been drafting and working on, I guess, an edit and to add, I guess, some meat around that retail component. Ms. Solomon, I am going to send this from my notes on my iPhone to your computer so that you may put this up on the screen.
No worries. Okay.
So if you could give that to me just a second. And so I've gone over, the comprehensive development plan, the Willingham corridor study, and the equity statement, all that I think support this entire idea. And I think that this body has been more than willing to work with the applicant. We've asked the applicant to come back with some ideas. And even in this month's work session, when I had Mr. McSwain reach out to the applicant for any input during the work session so that we may have an opportunity to deliberate this, the response that Mr. McSwain came back was the applicant has nothing else to add. I am going to recognize Commissioner Joseph Fields and Commissioner McKnight, and then I'm gonna finish my writing. I'm gonna email this to you, Ms. Sullivan. Commissioner Fields, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to add the fact that the things that are delineated in the ordinance does not say that, well, first of all, the applicant is not petitioning for retail space or retail operation. He's petitioning for a commissary to service the airport, the airline industry, which is not retail in itself, which means they're not geared, and we saw his plans and things of that nature. So they're not asking. Now, if you had a retail person that wanted to come in there and do retail, that's another story. But here's an applicant who is actually trying to come in and establish a certain type of business, not a retail business, is what they're asking us for within the ordinances, which were just delineated by our attorney, Ms. Wiggins. They're not asking for a retail space to go in that area. They're not promoting that. What they're promoting is a commercial kitchen so that they can serve. So that's a different type of business. So a retail business and a commercial business are two types of businesses, which means that the applicants have to be geared up for whichever one they're trying to promote. And in our particular circumstance, they're trying to promote the fact that they have a commercial kitchen that they want to do. They want to use this building, add to our tax base, and become a definite contributor to the economic base of East Point. And I believe that's sufficient. Now, if someone else wants to come and put a retail store or a restaurant on that particular strip, then of course the ordinance says they can do that. But that's separate and apart from what this applicant is doing. And I don't believe that we should or could or actually should, regardless of what the William Hand study says, you can't be asking them to do the whole thing. Like they want to do one thing, but you want them to do a commercial, and build up to, but that's not within what they're set up to do. I think it's unfair to ask them to do something like that. We'll find another applicant who wants to invest in the city and they want to put commercial things down, retail things in that corridor, then they should be permitted according to the ordinance. That's the only difference. I'm just saying there's a difference between having a desire to have that place evolve into something utopic, which is okay, but you can't ask this applicant to do that. To what point are there sidewalks being run over there, being installed in that area? That's something that the city can do. Are they doing anything about that to enhance the future development of that area? Are you going to ask this particular applicant to foot the whole thing? He's going to do a commercial kitchen. Now you want him to do another. So there's no building, there's no space to do it. So that's my concern. I understand about wanting to improve the area and find out what it's going to be like in the future, things of that nature. But being fair to the applicant as a body, trying to improve the city's economic base, the things that I believe that you're asking in this request about this retail thing is unreasonable for them. Yes, we want to have all sorts of things over there, but this one person can't do the whole thing that you're looking to do. I mean, you can't expect him to go, he's going to do this particular, then he's going to do a retail piece too. That's not what they can do. Maybe I'm not saying they can't afford it. Who knows? They're not set up to do that. And that's not their intent. And I don't believe that we should put that on them to do. Now that's my situation on that. And the ordinance does not support what you're talking about as far as making them do a retail space as well as what they want to do, what they actually applied to do. Should not be included in that, nor conditioned. I don't think that we can condition them to do those things regardless of what the future says. The future says, this is what we'd like to do over there. But you can't make this particular applicant do that. He's not set up to do that. We need to find another applicant who wants to put a retail restaurant over there and then deal with that. I think it's a total separate issue. I hope that's clear. Ms. Wiggins?
Yes, we heard, I did hear those points, Commissioner Fields. I think the entire commission did.
Yeah, those are the points I want. And this is it's apart and separate from all of those things. Yes, we want to have them do the whole thing. But we can't have, we want to redevelop the area, but we can't force one applicant to redevelop it.
Thank you, Commissioner Fields. I'm now going to, would you please lower your hand? I'm going to recognize Commissioner McAdoo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fields, for your comment. And I just want to make sure that, and that it's clear to the applicant, Goldberg's, I think is an amazing retail place and something that the residents would absolutely love to have. And I know we've been going on with this for a minute now, and I don't want to belabor it too much longer, but I just want to make sure that Mr. Fields know that, you know, as a commission board, we represent the residents of East Point, and it's our duty to especially with the corridor study, to do what they're, you know, at least ask for what they want. There's been other retail companies that you may not be aware of in the past, that if we don't ask for certain things, we won't get it ever. Because at the end of the day, I think the bottom line is really important to most businesses, which I totally get. So the recommendation from us, I don't think it's a bad thing. We're recommending it to council. They have the final say, right, on what's going to actually happen. So I think with adding these conditions, or I should say not adding the conditions, would not, you know, it puts us in a position where, you know, some other cases that's come before us where we didn't ask for things and then it turned into another bigger issue. So as we represent everyone and following the request of the residents, that's the purpose of us putting some conditions on the special use. Retail is available and it's approved now. The special use is, okay, we want to grant you that special use because you still do this retail space. Now, to the extent of how you do it, it can be a small space. It can just be a window that's actually serving people. I don't really know. And we would like for the applicant to, you know, give us some ideas. Maybe they can go back and actually think about it. But I think it's a nice thing to do if they do consider it and actually do it for us, because it is, at the end of the day, something that we want to stay in the line of the uses. I mean, in the requests of the studies that we spend a lot of time on. So that's my only other comment.
Thank you, Commissioner McKnight. And I will have a comment. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns? Commissioner Fields, you still have your hand raised.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Just wanted to respond a little bit to Ms. McKnight. I of course recognize that we represent the citizens of the city, but also want to let you know that we have to be fair to our partners. Now, people like the Goldbergs, they actually want to be partners with us. And so we have to treat them as partners, you know. As a matter of fact, when they first presented this application, they actually kind of gave into the idea. So they suggested some sort of food truck or something like that, which was not, which didn't sit well with the chairman. But in addition to that, they also said that they have a letter of intent to put one of their restaurants downtown in our the overlay district downtown in the Commons area. Now, everybody, I went to one of those meetings, and everyone who's trying to that the city board is trying to get to come into that particular area, all they have at this point is letters of intent. They intend to do this, so we have to recognize that, you know, I would think, and believe that they intend to do it, and when the time comes for them to do contracts, they'll do the contract. Not that they won't, they're gonna lie to us and say, hey, look, I got something down there and we can do over there, which is different. We do have the capacity to put in a real restaurant like you see up in Buckhead and things like that, wherever they have their restaurants at. They can put one of those in an area conducive to. Now, they're willing to do that. So why just, just brush them off and say, no, we don't believe you're going to do that, which is, I think it's not genuine, and we shouldn't be acting like that. So as a citizen, I want to be fair to the people who want to come and do business with me. And they want to do business and they have a particular way that they want to do the business, then I'm open to letting them do the business the way they can do the business. If they can do more, then we'll ask them to do more, but you can't make them do more. And that's what this is all about. Trying to force them to do something that they already said they can't do based on the circumstances of their business model. So I just want you to see that, Mr. McKnight. I'm not for the business just person. I'm for our citizens, but we want to be fair citizens. We don't.
Thank you, Commissioner Fields. You're welcome, Commissioner. At this time, if you would please lower your hand, Commissioner Fields Joseph, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Fields Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will just go on record saying that I don't believe that this is a request that is putting any hardship at all on the company. When you go on the website, what we're asking for is a small space that is a retail space. When you go on the Goldberg's website, how they began, they talk about their location and how they decided that they were going to go into business. And the final sentence in the very first paragraph says, the location was a small but very popular traditional New York deli. And while small is relative, I don't believe that we're asking for anything that is outside of their scope. I'll further that conversation to say that they proudly talk about their sister companies, which is Braves All-Star Bar and Grill. They have a Goldberg's Commissary, Mainline Food, and Mainline Aviation, which means that they have the scope to do many, many things. And to ask for a small space for retail in the Willingham quarter that we are looking forward facing and putting something in that neighborhood and along that corridor that people are going to actually walk up and buy. The Goldbergs also touts that they are producing millions of pounds of various high quality products while maintaining a homemade feel. And I think that small retail space right there would indeed help to create a small hometown feel for the city of East Point. They are servicing, by their own numbers, serving tens of thousands of customers each and every day throughout the Southeast. I don't believe it's a hardship to service another community right here in East Point. I yield my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Joseph Fields, I see you've raised your hand. You're recognized. Commissioner Mark Fields, could you please lower your hand?
Okay, thank you very much. In regard to Commissioner Mark Fields' statement, it's not that I believe, or even that the company believes what they are able to do when they actually set out to do some things. And because the company is so, you know, they're wide ranging. And yes, I don't believe that I'm not. It doesn't matter what the capacity of their company is. We're here to act on this particular application. And this application is within the bounds of our ordinances, and they're doing what they said they can do as far as we're concerned. And, you know, if you ask them, yes, you can ask them to do whatever you want to ask them to do. And they can reply. And the replies that's been given back to us is that they are not set up to do it. So if they're not set up to do it, but they still want to go ahead and put their commercial kitchen in that area, I think is a plus for the city. Because the city might have been ripped off by other unscrupulous people, you know, we can't blame that on everybody that comes along looking for something from us. I mean, we can't put that on. It's like, you know, you had an old girlfriend, you know, y'all didn't make out so well. So you're gonna put the negative things on your new girlfriend? No, you can't do that. That's not fair. It's not fair to them. So I'm just looking for fairness here and understanding of what our particular scope of authority is. They want to put the thing there, the building is there, they're within the ordinance. We should allow the ordinance based on what it says our powers are. And our powers are not to say that you have to do such and such, thus and so within the application. Otherwise, we can't do it. So
thank you, Commissioner Fields. I'm sorry, were you finished?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of finished, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mark Fields, you've raised your hand again. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to get clarification from Attorney Wiggins that I've heard Commissioner Joseph Fields say a couple of times, and I just want to make sure. I believe he's saying that it's outside of the purview of this body to have this condition. And I understood that what I thought you said was that it is not, that it can be within our purview. Can you clarify that so that statement does not stand there?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we've got to understand that any condition that you place on approval, the board is saying that that's what we want to give you our approval. And all I'm saying is if what we want in exchange for our approval is not legal, then don't do it. And what I read from the ordinance, section 10-2079, is that a retail component is not illegal in that zoning district, right? So you're not asking him to put apartments in L1, right? Like we don't allow apartments in L1. So I'm not, and maybe we do, maybe that was a bad example, but I am not pro or against the retail. I'm not trying to make that statement. All I'm saying is that a condition is what you're saying, that in exchange for our approval, we want you to do this. And I think Commissioner Fields, Joseph Fields, is saying he does not think we should be asking them to do something that they aren't prepared for and did not ask for in their application. And what I've heard from the other side is that you guys are saying to get our yes, to get our positive approval to send to mayor and council, we want this in exchange. And my only statement, hopefully I've made it clear, is that whatever you want in exchange for your yes, make sure it is not illegal and not an impossibility.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Attorney Wiggins, and thank you for your question, Commissioner Mark Fields. Commissioner Mark Fields, you still have your hand raised. Is there something else you'd like to say? Okay, I see you've lowered it. Okay, I will just, I want to go over the condition for consideration, and I will also say that it is, I feel, within our purview, we condition applications all the time. We have several tonight that we're going to hear, and I can guarantee you that there will be conditions in that as well. We have also conditioned other applicants as it relates to retail and components of that nature, Arden Garden being one of them. And not only do they step up to the plate and provide healthier food options for the community, but they have ingrained themselves within the East Point community. They did not come before us to ask for that retail component. We condition other applications all the time. So that is nothing new. And it is, this condition is legal within this zoning category. We're not asking the applicant to do something that is illegal. We are also saying to the applicant, we're not even prescribing the size of footprint of that retail component. And I've said that a number of times over the past couple of months. And so what the applicant has said is that we can't do it. I've asked the applicant if they've done a test fit. The applicant said no. So just because they say they can't do it doesn't mean that they can't. Because we get people to come before us all the time and say they can't do something. So I'm going to, I'm going to read this condition that I have been sitting here and drafting, and I'll ask Ms. Solomon if she would put it on the screen. And it does address a couple of the points. And I want to thank you, Commissioner Joseph Fields, for bringing this up, because I was able to add that in my condition here that I'd like to offer for consideration. My condition reads as follows. In accordance with the Willingham Corridor Study, which was adopted and incorporated into the East Point 2017 Comprehensive Plan on August 15th, 2022, and the newly drafted East Point Equity Statement also included in said document, this special use permit shall be conditioned to include a retail component that provides healthy food options for residents most impacted by this business operation and other patrons as identified in the Willingham Corridor Study. The retail business hours shall reflect business hours similar of operations of the applicant. The retail component may include, but shall not solely consist of, a food truck. This condition shall not preclude the applicant from establishing other retail operations within the city of East Point. Again, I state that we don't have to be an either or city. We can be an and too. So if we're asking for a small retail component here, there's nothing to preclude the applicant from also having a presence in the commons should they desire to enter a letter of intent. If the applicant would also like to have a food truck out there from time to time, that would be great. That is a part of the Willingham Corridor Study. But what we're asking is for a small footprint to serve the families in that area, which is a food desert, which is a part of the business operations, as has been read by Commissioner Mark Fields from Goldberg's own website. This is nothing outside of their operations, nothing outside of their purview, and I believe nothing outside of their capacity. And so with that, Commissioner Fields, I would like to offer that as an amended condition about the retail component. Do you accept that friendly amendment for that condition?
Mr. Chair, yes, I do.
And Commissioner McKnight, does your second still stand?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any other?
You're muted.
Mr. Chair, we lost you.
Okay, I see your hand raised, Attorney Wiggins.
I don't believe that, Mr. Chairman, you got a friendly amendment to the condition with regard to the placement of the dumpster. I know you guys talked about it, but I was not sure that that made it into the original motion.
All right, thank you. I think that we did, but I will go over it again. We have also amended the condition regarding the dumpster, and we talked about the placement. Yes, we did, Attorney Wiggins, because we said not within the purview. And so Commissioner Fields, Mark Fields, do you accept that added language around that condition?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
And Commissioner McKnight, does your second still stand?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Are there any other, okay, Attorney
Do we-
Wiggins, your hand is still raised.
Do we need to repeat it, just for clarity?
Yes,
And
could you
for
please
the-
put that on the screen, Ms. Solomon? Ms. Solomon?
Yes,
Or
Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
McSwain, can we put that
Sir?
modified condition regarding the dumpster on the screen?
Sorry about that. Yeah, this is Tyler McSwain controlling the PowerPoint.
Okay,
I
sorry.
believe I do have it shared, so you all let me know if you're able to see it, but I should have an amended screen here with the
Okay.
current motion that's on motion right now.
Yes, and number one does say, one trash receptacle must be provided, constructed with masonry material enclosed on three sides. The trash receptacle shall not be visible from Willingham Drive, but in compliance with the city ordinances and building code. So that's condition number one, and the second condition is the condition that I just read. The motion has been made by Commissioner. If there are no other comments, questions, or concern, I will go ahead and call the question. The motion has been made by Commissioner Mark Fields, seconded by Commissioner McKnight, that this body approves this case. That is, 1 second. This case is case number 2023U as an umbrella -001-07 with a concurrent variance 2023 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -001-07 with the conditions as stated. All in favor sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion is approved, and we'll move forward with the recommendation with those conditions.
Noted. Thank you. Chair Atkins, we may have lost you. Or you may be muted.
Okay, I'm sorry. What part did I go out on?
After the recommendation, we lost you after right after that.
Okay, this body recommends approval of case number 2023U as an umbrella -001-07 with a concurrent variance 2023 V as in Victor, C as in Charles -001-07 with the conditions as stated. And at this time, we'll move to our second agenda item under old business. It's 2023R as in Robert, Z as in Zebra -001-07. We have also had the public hearing on this agenda item, but I will also entertain any comments from the applicant and also from any of the attendees here this evening. So, Mr. Peel, do you have any comments regarding your case?
Yes, good evening. No, I don't have any comments.
Okay, is there anything that you would like to share from any of the questions from the last work session?
Well, I just have the same presentation. If you like, I would go over it again if it's necessary. If you feel it's necessary.
If you would like to go over that and maybe do the highlights, to respond to any of the questions, then I'll give you the floor to do that.
Okay, I will give you an abbreviated version.
Mr. Peel, do you have the ability to share?
Yes, I do.
All right, very good.
All right. Okay. Slideshow. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you gotta. I gotta be allowed here to. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I didn't do it right. Why don't I see this? I did that. Yeah, well, that's.
Mr. Peel, I accidentally muted you, but I believe I may have your presentation from the last time. Would you want me to share that and we can just roll with that one? You're muted, by the way, so just unmute yourself and you let me know how you want to deal with that.
I have it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Okay. Can you all see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Patrick Peel, and I'm the owner of Gus Thornhill Drive in East Point. Okay, and what my intentions are is to rezone this empty lot, which is currently zoned light industrial, and I don't feel like it's zoned correctly. I think it's the city of East Point and the citizens of East Point would fare better and have a more benefit if this is zoned as townhouses and then have townhouses on this lot. All right, and the benefits of East Point would be the increase in the middle housing, and that will add diverse housing and also opportunity for growth in the community and provide a more affordable housing. And middle housing is just townhouses, quadruplex, and things of that nature, apartments. What I'm concentrating on are townhouses because I'm a strong believer in the ownership and for the residents of East Point. So, and like I was saying, middle housing is going to provide opportunities as far as more dense population and growth, economic growth in the city of East Point. And these units will have a two-car garage with an additional two-car apron, and also 7 different visitors parking, and which will be a total of 35 parking spaces. And to further verify that this is not spot zoning, I have an example here of there's two other developments that are townhouses as well. And this is the Sterling Village townhouse, and this is Martin Street townhouses. And what I am trying to do is model my townhouses after these on the Martin Street townhouses. And this is the Martin Street townhouse. This is the map of the boundaries of that property, and just doing that as far as a reference to my lot, which is very similar in size. And I wanted to show that townhouses in East Point, they don't stay on the market very long, from 7 days, 5 days, as opposed to 42 days regular houses. And also they're more, the sales are going up dramatically, and for houses, townhouses, and single family houses. All right, this is a north view of the property as it is right now. This is a south view of the property. And this is the property looking west. And this is also the property looking west, but it's also showing the other properties that are across the street, which are residential. And this is another view of the property looking west, and you can see that it's adjacent to other residential properties. And this is a view of the property around 2007, where there was a house on that lot. Oh, these are examples of what's going on in the East Washington area. There are lots of activity with new construction that are going up, and they have started out in around 485, and now they're around 600,000. So, and these are the red circles represent where these new constructions are located. And this is a map to show how close this property is. It's in walking distance to MARTA in downtown. And again, this is a zoning map where you can see where it's light industrial, when it's abutted against residential, which to me would be more advantageous for people to have residential instead of light industrial. Okay, and this is a my zoning site plan. And this is another version of the site plan, and these are the floor plans they're going to have for this property, and these are the elevations. So this is what it would look like. And these elevations are going to include a fourth level, which has a kind of like a panoramic view of the city of East Point. And these are examples of what this property will look like once they are erected. So once again, the townhouses are going to provide affordable access to housing. It's going to increase the tax base for the city of East Point. And it will address the need for middle housing by changing this zoning from L1 to RT townhouses. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pill. Are there any other comments? Any other comments from anyone else regarding this application? Okay. Seeing none, staff, I would ask you to please sound your recommendation.
Okay. Bear with me here. I'm gonna pull my screen back up. In regard to this petition, and I'll read the project number again for the record, 2023 RZ-001-07, 1457 Gus Thornhill Jr. Drive. The requested rezoning, in this case, that's also part of the Cleveland Avenue overlay. I want to mention that the last time that we met with this board, we did mention that the applicant had a few minor changes, and that's the reason why we tabled it at the last hearing. And it also gave staff the opportunity to go and look at some plans that MARTA has been working on or had worked on in the past. We believe that the applicant did share some information regarding some of the objectives that MARTA had put out in their plan for Cleveland Avenue. The recommendation that has been forwarded over to you all, I will read it for the record and bear with me. I'm going to actually change screens here. Okay, so bear with me, everyone. Can everybody see my screen? I know I'm scrolling through a lot of stuff here. One second.
Mr. McSwain, we can see your screen.
Thank you for the confirmation. I really appreciate that. Okay, so with this in mind, the proposed use and rezoning request appears to be a very desirable land use, more so than the industrial zoning district that is currently zoned right now. If someone were to come in and put a warehouse facility, is currently zoned for that at this particular moment. The proposed layout and design matches the overall intent of the Cleveland Avenue overlay design guidelines, with consideration of the proposal and the potential of this use in companion to the overall objective of the comprehensive plan and additional studies based on MARTA collaboration with the city of East Point. Staff will recommend to approve this request with the following conditions. I will read the 5 conditions. I also have a last note on the 5th condition, so bear with me. Condition number 1, the architectural facade and siding must be aesthetically compatible with the materials of the neighboring residential homes and the guidelines of the Cleveland Avenue overlay. Condition number 2, a detailed tree landscaping plan shall be submitted for approval by the Planning and Zoning Division or assigned arborist. Condition number 3, sidewalks to be provided fronting all buildable lots. Number 4, no more than 7 buildable lots to be at the site. You all received a 5th condition in your staff report. However, after mentioning that the applicant came back with a new design that includes a 4-story, staff believes that we can remove the 5th condition, given that it's already stated in the ordinance. If the applicant wishes to keep the 4-story design, he will have to apply for a variance and may do so. So without complicating or restricting that, staff is comfortable just moving forward with 4 conditions in regards to this rezoning request. And those are the 4 conditions that I stated. And I'll be happy to answer any questions in regards to the information I stated before you this evening.
Commissioners, we've heard comments from the applicant and we've heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation, including the 4 out of the 5 conditions that are listed.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Mark Fields, that this body recommends approval of this application with the first 4 conditions as stated by staff. At this time, I'll entertain any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the application. Commissioner McKnight, your hand is raised and you are recognized.
Yes, I have a question. If you can put the condition back up for me. It was for the condition in number 1 in reference to the architectural design and being like the neighboring homes. I only see a blank screen right now.
This is a special security announcement. Please make.
I only see a blank screen right now, so I can't read it verbatim. Could you put it back on?
Understood. Yeah, I'm putting it on the PowerPoint, so it's a little bit cleaner. Just allow me 1 brief second. I'll have that up here before you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And the only reason with that one is, look like the neighboring homes are single family homes. And they're older, so I didn't want it to be limited because it looked like the design is totally more modern now. So just wanted to reread that.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think Mr. McSwain is going to you're pulling something up. Is that correct, Mr. McSwain, regarding
That's
that?
correct. It's on its
Okay.
way.
Outdoor facade inside must be. Yes, that we're saying is aesthetically compatible with the materials of the neighboring residential homes.
And so, Commissioner McKnight, I'm exactly on the same page as you, and I brought this up at our work session or our last month's meeting with staff. Can we also say here, I'd like to offer this language to be added, including the newly built modern houses within the East Washington community, because the houses that are referenced here are those houses, and the new houses that have just been built, those moderns that I think Mr. Peel has shown as a part of his presentation, I think that may cover the materials that are being proposed for Mr. Peel's development. Would that suffice for you, Commissioner McKnight?
It would, but I think he's still working on cleaning that up a little bit. Let's see.
Okay.
But yes, that definitely needs to be, cleaned up because I don't want to,
Yes.
As it currently reads, it would limit the design.
Yeah, Mr. McSwain, could you say residential homes, including the modern style houses? The modern style houses.
Could it be the recently sold? I don't know.
Well, I don't know if we would want to say that. I just say within the East Washington community.
Okay.
Because some of them sold, and then recently is relative. Somebody can say a month is recent, so I think if we just say within the East Washington community, so any of those modern style homes that have been built over there, I think that should get us to where we need to be on that and the proposed materials for the applicant's designs.
So do we need to scratch the portion about the Cleveland Avenue overlay?
We need to keep that because it is within the Cleveland Avenue overlay, but this will allow, because those homes that were referenced by staff are those homes that are along Cleveland Avenue and within the East Washington community. I think they're also a part of the Cleveland Avenue overlay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chair Atkins, can I make a quick insert?
Sure.
I have no problem adding that. Given that it is part of our code, would you all like to move forward with that, or just to keep it as written with the overlay information listed at the end of that number 1?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. At the end of number 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Bryant.
isn't that property is right across the Irene Kidd Street right there?
You're
That
correct.
is correct. Yeah.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Belcher. I have noted the updated condition.
Okay.
If it is of liking, I can keep it as is.
Okay. Commissioner McKnight, are you okay with that?
Read it through it now. Yes, I am.
All right. And then we've got, I think, are we okay with condition 2, 3, and 4?
Yes, I am. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Mr. McSwain, can you go back over the condition that was there, number 5? Now, what was the reason for limiting it to 3 stories?
Yes, Chair Atkins, to answer that question, the overlay requires a maximum, it's a 2 to 3 maximum story for massing in terms of height. What was proposed shows 4, so the overlay, the 4-story over would not comply with the overlay. So with that being said, if the applicant wishes to move forward with this development, in order for them to achieve that height, they would have to come back before this board to get a variance to exceed the height requirement of the overlay.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
so, yeah. So they would need a variance for that.
That's correct.
And very similar to some things that we required Chick-fil-A to do. They wanted to do some parking. The bank that was also on Cleveland Avenue, they had to come back before us to clear up those things around the variance. So should the applicant decide to do that, then they will have to come back as well, because the overlay limits that mass to 2 to 3 stories. Commissioner McKnight, you have a raised hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have a question anyway. So do we want to have the applicant come back for a variance over this thing? Is the applicant sure that they want 4 stories, or that's a definitive plan, or the plans aren't definitive just yet? Is that what it is?
I thought about your very question, because my idea would be to let's go ahead and just remedy that now. But hearing from Mr. McSwain that the overlay specifically states that the massing can be no higher than 2 to 3 stories, it would require a variance, which is a different application, because this application is for a rezoning and it is not for a variance. So legally, we would also have to advertise it for variance. But I thought about the same thing. I was like, well, they have their designs and ideas. Let's go ahead and do it tonight, which would be the most efficient. But it would require a variance, which would then precipitate us to advertise that also as a variance. What we've advertised for this case is a rezoning.
Gotcha. Okay, and that's because we added the language. So I think that's why he was asking whether or not we should take that last sentence out for the condition. So with it, it's requiring them to come for a variance. Without it, they won't have to come back for a variance. Is that right?
No, they will still have to come back because the overlay is going to be in place regardless of whether we have that language in condition number
That's
one
right.
or not. So
Yep,
the
yep.
overlay, so he would get going and then realize the city
Yeah.
would stop him. Yes.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
You're right.
So
Okay.
commissioners, there has been a motion made by Commissioner Miller, I believe, and seconded by Commissioner Mark Fields for this body to recommend approval of the rezoning for this application with the 4 conditions as we have stated, and we have amended condition number 1. So Commissioner Miller, does your motion still stand?
My motion still stands, sir.
And Commissioner Mark Fields, does your second still stand?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, so commissioners, the motion has been made by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Mark Fields, that this body recommends approval with the 4 conditions as stated. All in favor sound aye.
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 All opposed sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Mr. Field, this body recommends approval. Okay,
Okay,
we're gonna
thank
move
you.
on. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time this evening. We're
All
going
right.
to move on to our next case under old business, which is 2023 V as in Victor -002-07. This is 2025 Sylvan Road. It is a variance application. We've also had the public hearing for this agenda item. I will now ask the applicant if they have any comments they would like to make regarding this application. Mr. Dryer?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, can
Yes.
now.
All right.
Okay.
All right, this is David Dreher. I'm with Randall Paulson Architects. I do have a presentation to go over, which we presented, I believe, last month on this presentation, but I can give that again for anyone who is not there.
Okay, if you would like to hit the highlights for that, because we will open a public hearing for your next case, which you may have an opportunity to go over even in depth if you would like. But the floor is yours.
Let's see, can I share my screen?
Yes, sir, you should have the screen sharing capabilities.
Okay, I don't see anything yet.
In the middle of the screen, it's going to say share screen. Let me see. Do you see the screen share screen option in green in the middle of your screen?
I do not.
Okay, you may have not been moved over as a panelist. Give me 1 second. Mr. Dreher?
Okay. See the share screen.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right. So once again, my name is David Dreher. I'm with Randall Paulson Architects. So this project is for Peachy Airport parking. They currently own the property across the street from the project that we're talking about now. So what the intent of this is there's currently a surface parking lot that we are planning to cover with just a covered open air canopy over the existing parking areas. So in doing so, one of those canopies encroaches on the building setbacks in this area in orange. It encroaches both on the rear building setback and the front building setback off of Sylvan Road. And the intent of the extents of this canopy is just to cover the existing paving and no further than what is currently paved for parking. So what we're talking about here is, I'm sorry. So the front edge of the canopy, we have a 40-foot building setback. We're encroaching approximately 20 feet over that front building setback. And at the rear building setback, we've got a 30-foot building setback there, and we are encroaching approximately 15 feet off of that rear setback.
Yeah.
In doing so, we are moving back our fence that fronts Sylvan Road and changing that to a more decorative fence, as well as planning on adding some landscaping between our fence and the street to just help the aesthetics of what our site looks like, and also Sylvan Road as well. So looking at the site, so this is our building right here. This would be the open air canopy. So it has no walls, it's just a roof and columns. Our existing curb line is this dashed line right here. We're actually proposing to bring this curb back to add more landscaping between Sylvan Road and our building. With that, our building setback is here in this orange line. So you'll see how we're encroaching over that, as well as our building setback on the rear, which we would also be encroaching over that. Once again, this paving is all existing right now. So when we pull back our curb line and add some more landscaping in this area, our fence line is currently existing fence is located right along this property line, which is about 16 feet off of the road to our fence. We'll be pulling our fence back to be 5 feet off of our new curb. So that gives us almost 30 feet now from our frontage on Sylvan Road to where our fence would be. So we're almost doubling that distance between our fence. Coming down, so this is the landscape plan. This got mentioned last month that we were looking into getting a plan together. So just wanted to share this with y'all. This is our just first take at our landscape plan, kind of what we're proposing at the moment. So it's just got a variation of let's see if I can zoom in on this. So we've got some crepe myrtles, and I'm not sure what exactly all of the names of these plants are. I'm not a landscape designer, but you can see it's to resemble what we have currently on the other side of the street as well. And this would be the extent of our property line for this property. So we've got our building that we're discussing right now is right here in just this area, but we're extending our fence and landscaping all the way down the full extent of the property, just to help dress up the street and frontage. So looking at some photos, so this photo right here is existing photo of the site. So this is the fence I was talking about right now. This is just a chain link with some privacy strips in that. So it creates a little bit more opaque view, but you see how far the fence is off of the property line. So this is where our property line is, and this fence would be moving back an additional 14 feet off of that property line, and it's approximately 16 feet now from the fence to the street. So for the length of what we see here all the way down to the end, that is what we would have landscaped with this fence being pulled back. So inside the property line, so this is the same fence and our existing curb and paving. So this red line represents where our new fence would be going. So you can see how far we would be moving the fence back. And this white line would be our new edge of curb. So we'd be pulling the curb back to where this white line is currently painted on the ground. Across the streets, this is the property that's directly across the street that is also Peach's property. This is just some of the landscaping on the other side of the street, which we would have something similar to this based on that landscape plan, just to have on both sides of the street. And just another photo of the existing fence. And our new fence we would be putting in would be similar to what is on the other side of the street. So it'd be a more decorative, ornamental type fence. So it's a little bit, it's less opaque, see through it a little bit better, a little bit more friendly of a fence as well, to help just dress up that street frontage. So looking at a section through here, so we've got our road. This is the existing property line and fence. We'd be pulling that back to here. So we're essentially doubling the distance from the road to where that fence is. And then we'd have our landscaping in this area as well. And this is just to give an example of kind of the scale of the building and just an openness. It is open on all four sides. So it is really just a roof. And the only intent of this is just to cover our auto parking. This is just a rendering view to give an example of what this may end up looking like at the end of the day. If this project is finished. So this is our covered canopy. And you see we've got our ornamental fence here and then some landscaping along the frontage of the property to the street. And just another view kind of showing similar thing just for more of a bird's eye view. So canopy again is open all four sides. We'll be pulling back our fence line. So our existing property line and existing fence is approximately in this area. And our existing curb line would be around in this area. So we're adding this area as more landscaping, and rather than just having that as just grass, we are adding some trees or crepe myrtles and some more landscaping to help dress that area up. So I wanted to give back as much as we can to make it a nicer drive, nicer area, as at the same time as we know that we're asking for something as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dreyer. Are there any other attendees who have comments regarding this application? Any other attendees with comments? I gotta go here. Okay, hearing none and seeing none, staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
Will do. Okay, sorry about that. I was muted. So in regards to this petition, and I'll read the record again. For this particular case, this is 3025 Sylvan Road, case number, one second, let me make sure I got the right one. Yes, so this is case 2023 V-002-007. Just wanted to mention to the commission tonight that the applicant did a fair job or good job at that of explaining everything that's going on with their site. But the petition in particular that you're voting on at this particular moment is regards to the canopies that are listed on the site. So the canopies proposed for the parking area, as mentioned by the applicant, would provide a aesthetic to cover the parking area. Staff does not believe that this is anything that would be egregious or a detriment to any adjacent properties and the use of their property. So with that information mentioned, staff did recommend approval of this particular variance case. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have with no conditions I want to add.
Commissioners, we've heard comment from the applicant and we've heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I will entertain a motion. Let us not all speak at once. I need to make sure I can hear what you're saying.
Motion for discussion?
You have
I
to
don't know.
have a motion to approve or deny
Motion.
for discussion.
Okay. Motion
Or
to
defer.
for
Approve?
discussion? Uh-huh.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner McKnight, seconded by Commissioner Markfield. So this body approves this application, and this motion is for discussion. And so Commissioner McKnight, I believe that you want the floor. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's yours.
So my question is with reference to the canopy. Are there any design requirements or restrictions on what the canopy should actually look like in the area?
Is that a question of staff or of the applicant? Staff,
It's
okay?
staff. Uh-huh.
Yes. Mr. McSwain or Ms.
Like in that area, does the design have to be a certain way? Does it only have to be black, gray, white, plastic, vinyl, tarp, like what is it gonna, or is it gonna be a green canopy like in the picture? Do we know what it's gonna look like?
Well, Commissioner Knight, I can answer that question. Yes, there are specific standards and requirements for canopies within our city's ordinance. In particular, there were requirements that requiring a green component, and in terms of materials are outlined in it as well. But what is being proposed by the applicant is the reason why they are also pursuing in regards to the location of it as well. So this request covers just the component of the canopy. And yes, there are certain requirements in the code that they have to comply with, but what you're seeing, what's being proposed is a metal structure. And that is a material that is allowed. But there are some of the design components of it that they did not comply with, and that's why they are applying for the variance.
Okay, so with us making the recommendation, if we were to make a recommendation for approval, we're approving just a metal structured canopy. But what are the things that they need to do so that it would be in compliance for the design? Like, are they doing that, or do we need to include that in the condition, or what? I just want I don't want it to be some enormous, like it's just not aesthetically pleasing to the eye at all, canopy on such a large lot. So that's my only question. It's just the design.
Thank you for that. I can try to answer that the best way possible. So in regards to that, there are some options I believe that this board may have, and you all can let me know if you agree or not. But certainly, if you all, let me kind of share my screen again so you all can see. Let's see, can you all see? So in regards to what the applicant is proposing, you all can condition what you're seeing, the rendering based upon what they have presented as an exhibit before the body. And we can go into details of materials that are light or just rely on the code. What I also would like to show you all is the standards in the code section pertaining to parking garages or commercial parking. I can show that as well, and bear with me, I'll pull it up. Okay, so I have the section number and I'm about to pull up some regulations so you all can see, so bear with me. Actually, it's right in front of me, very cool. All right. So can you all see, I think you all may be seeing a different screen. Let me carry over to a new screen. Are you all able to see the text? I know it might be small, so let me zoom in. Okay.
Hello?
Okay. I think someone may be on the phone.
Hello?
So this is a question to the board. Are you all able to see the screen that I'm broadcasting here?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so the section pertaining to the canopy structures is what's listed here in regards to what is required. We know that there's like particular to item number 7 that green roofs, this is something that they weren't going to incorporate. So this is the reason why they're applying for the base variance, is that the fact that it doesn't comply with these standards. So in regards to everything else, I believe that the condition, if you are wishing to move forward with a assertment from the applicant, we can pull some language now to ensure that it would match the renderings that they're proposing to the body at this evening. So in regards to color, materials, lighting, we can potentially address that now, but as you could probably see, there are standards in regards to what the
Yeah, if it's
structure
already
is supposed to
in the
look like.
code, if it's already listed in the code, what's the things that they don't want to do that they mentioned?
Okay. I believe that's
Is
going
it
to be, yeah, there's a conflict with course number 7, number 8. And these are just incorporated, part of the code, but there's a definitely a reason that we probably need to revisit editing this section to include, because it kind of looked like it was pulled from a study or another ordinance. But bear with me. I do want to share one more thing. I think number 14 cuts off the materials. So let me get back to that here in a second.
While you're looking for that, Mr. McSwain, Ms. McKnight, did you get your question answered? In terms of,
well, he's doing it, clarifying now
because
in the
I
base.
want to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that I want to be very clear about this, particularly as it relates to number 7. Can we, number 7 talks about a green roof.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the conflict is. So I'm a bit confused. It's a green roof on the rendering, but that's not what they actually want to do. So, we approving the actual canopy, but what are we,
Yeah, my take on that is a little different. I don't think that the ordinance is speaking to the color of the roof. I think that the ordinance is speaking to the quote unquote green roof, a roof that helps to reduce the heat,
like energy.
the collection of heat. Yes, it's around energy and the environment, not the color of the roof.
Okay.
And that may be why there's pushback. So that's a very literal, and I get it. Someone interpreted it, but I don't think that number 7 is about the color of the roof. Number 7 is about energy and the environment and practices.
Sustainability. Yeah.
It's about sustainability. So, so what was the conflict? Was the conflict that they wanted to do something like that? But,
Well, I'm sorry, Chair, I can go ahead.
but the staff said no, the roof has to be green. What exactly is the conflict?
Yeah.
Okay, so to clear this up, the subsection, which is section 10-2150.5, commercial parking lot garages. These standards between 1 through 15, they're asking the variance from these particular section standards because they don't apply. The green roof, again, yes, is a sustainable design. How can I say this? It's something that we are moving towards to and would like. But in regards to what's already out there around the
Let me go
airport
back.
area, go
Let
ahead.
me stop you
Yes.
1 second, Mr. Swift.
Mhm.
It's not what we're moving towards to what we like. It's what's in the code. So it's more than a like. It's in the code. So my question is, are they opposed to the color or the sustainable practices and design elements for the roof?
This would be the sustainable design component of it. What they're proposing does not have a green or green sustainable design component to it. Certainly, we can ask the applicant if they're, because I know they also added in their comment or their report about adding additional landscaping to accommodate that. But again, I think the objective from my standpoint and my review of what the ordinance pushes for sustainability and also to protect environmental lots from excessive impervious surfaces. I think that the canopies was also used as a tool to reduce immediate heat index for this type of use, specifically for those properties that are located near the airport. And not also including just the aesthetic approach to it, but that was part of the discussion. But you are correct that the green roof deals with a sustainable design and not the color component. And then the applicant is what they're showing does not include that, but are trying to achieve the overall scope and goal of including more landscaping and also protecting the heat index for use like this. But I would.
I'm so grateful for your question, Commissioner McKnight, because I actually didn't get any of that. And my question is to staff. So staff's recommendation is to approve, correct?
That's correct.
With no conditions or an excellent, staff didn't even explain this. So why would staff recommend approval, but with no conditions to address the desire of the applicant not to comply with that part of the ordinance?
Uniformity, Chair Atkins, the recommendation was based upon what is in the area in comparison to the criteria points of, is this a use that is going to be something that's not going to, will be a detriment to the area or the use of adjacent properties. So that is one of the main components of why we're recommending approval. In our review requirements, there's nothing in there particular that we have reviewed that's mentioned that this would not achieve what this area is looking for. But in regards to that green roof, that's just something that we don't have or that's in the area that, you know, we staff didn't feel as though that was something that was going to be needed for this particular area. I'll yield. I'm sorry, Chair Atkins.
Yes. Detriment is such a low bar. And if that is what staff is hanging, because this is not the first time that I've heard staff say it's not a detriment. I'll engage Mr. Dreyer. Mr. Dreyer, if you're muted, could you please unmute?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dreyer, in your practice, you're the architect for the project, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are you LEED certified?
I am not LEED certified.
Do you have a division or any profession within your practice that is LEED certified?
Yes, we do.
Okay. What could be a design element that could be incorporated on this canopy that would be in compliance with sustainability practices. Is it your desire to have a green roof here? Or could you just elaborate on this?
Yes.
Because I'm very confused about this.
Yeah, so the reason for us for having a green roof is actually more for the marketing. It is one of Peachy Parking's colors is green. So that is why this roof was green, to be visible from possibly the road, but more so from the sky for planes going in and out of the airport. That was more of the reason for that roof to be green. It would just be the top of the roof that's green. The bottom of that roof structure would all be a white or lighter color, would not be green underneath the structure. As far as a green roof for energy compliance and things along those lines, there's different levels of that. Generally, when we do a lot of, I specialize in a lot of large industrial buildings. And one of the things that we have to do for energy compliance is we have a light colored roof, which is generally a white roof, which you see a lot of on commercial and industrial buildings, especially everything being built now. And that's to help reduce heat island effect coming off of those buildings, and also helps with their insulation factors and everything else as well on the roof. There's other ways that when we start going into LEED projects where we can do more for those green roofs. It's, I will say, almost never used, just because of the additional weight and maintenance of having a green roof, in the terms of actually having plantings and soil and everything else up on the roof. I can see that being more used on an actual like parking garage, maybe near some residential, that would be a little bit more applicable, because you have to have access to that easily to get up there for maintenance. Where this, we would not have access to get up onto these canopies. So we're really just looking at the green as more of an aesthetic for marketing for Peachy. And then the other side of that to be a little bit more energy code compliant for this, if need be, would be to make that a lighter color roof, maybe something along the lines of white. But this is a pre-engineered metal building, so that roof structure will be a metal structure and metal roof. But
okay, so a metal structure and a metal roof in 90-degree weather, 100-degree weather, it's going to be very hot. How would that minimize the heat island effect? And then the color. So if the green, obviously, which is a lighter color than, let's say, a dark brown or a black or a charcoal roof, if that is going to help to minimize the heat island effect, then my question to staff is, would that be a design element that would then be in compliance with the sustainability green roof requirement versus a black roof or charcoal roof or a darker color roof?
Yeah, so sorry. I was just going to add, yes. So from my standpoint, and from usually what I look at in energy code, it doesn't specify that we have to have a white roof all the time. It does usually specify a lighter color as opposed to having a black or dark color. So, I mean, green might be in a gray area or up for some interpretation, but it is a lighter color. And this may not be the exact color green, but the intent was to kind of match the Peachy Parking green. And for the most part, this green would probably not be that visible from the street.
What is the height of the canopy?
The bottom edge of the canopy, let's see. I thought we had that on there. Believe it was 20 something feet. Give me just a second and I will be able to tell you. So the edge of the canopy at the bottom is 23 feet. At the low side of the canopy.
Okay, 23 feet. Okay. So staff, my question was really to you. So is this not a design standard to address a green roof versus having a black roof? Does that not qualify? And the ordinance is very vague. So Mr. McSwain, I hope that this is something that you're noting for review as a part of the zoning rewrite.
Noting. Uh-huh.
So my question,
Yes.
staff, is the use of this color, is it not then a design element that would then be in compliance with a green roof?
I would say, Chair Atkins, that the color specifically does not warrant a area to which we can answer to deem that to be true or not. That's more from a environmental analysis or something that can be. I would definitely have to pull to see there's some language in the comp plan, but there's no way that we can police that in terms of a zoning ordinance in terms of color scheme, other than the fact that if it's in the overlay or specific building materials as part of that, but in regards to a specific color, and if it has the ability to absorb heat or remediate that actual heat, that information is not so much in the zoning ordinance, but more so of building code standards.
Well, I'm not asking about aesthetic because when you start to talk about color, let me see. I'm not asking about aesthetics on it. So I get what you're saying, but that's not really my question, because if we have something in the ordinance that talks about a green roof, right? Not the color green, but then I think that there should be some level of understanding of what then design elements, could it be a color? And then what are those colors that lend itself or themselves to being a part of a green roof design elements? So that's what I'm asking, really, and not asking about whether we have aesthetic zoning and are asking the applicant to only use these colors. This would be a design element to meet the request or the requirement in the zoning ordinance of a green roof. This is wearing me out tonight because
I know.
we had a work
I know.
session. This is not what we had a work session.
Uh-huh.
These things should really be talked about and discussed in a work session because there are questions like this. Okay.
So, Chair Atkins, can I make a quick mention on
Please.
something? When we say green roof, usually in our code, if we go to definitions, usually there may be, usually there is a description that follows based upon interpretation. Right now, currently in the City of East Point zoning ordinance, there is no definition that follows green roofs. It's just a term. So
Right.
there, I mean, I would have to say, or we may need to ask Attorney Wiggins about the teeth of the terminology of green roofs, because at this moment, the ordinance
Correct.
does not go into specifics of green roofs. And I hear you, Chair Atkins, it could specifically be a color. It could specifically be materials in terms of planting
It
on
could be a
top of the
number of
structure.
things. to your
Right,
point,
but no,
is not a defined term. That's to your point. It's not a
that's,
legally
yes,
defined term.
correct.
We do not have it as a legally defined term in the document, which then also says to me, then why are we saying that the applicant is not in compliance with it? In compliance with it. That's why this is frustrating me, because if the sticking point for staff was that they were not complying with that particular part of the ordinance, and it is not a defined term, then what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Um,
May I add something else?
just 1 second, Mr. Dreyer. I think that Mr. McSwain was asking Attorney Wiggins, because green roof is not a defined term within the code of ordinance, then there teeth to this.
Mr. Chair, my response would be, if it's not a defined term, then we would have to look to the intent of the use of that term. And if the intent of the use of that term and how it's been enforced in the past has been color versus material versus energy and sustainability, we need to be consistent with the intent and how we have enforced that undefined term in the past.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Blair, I'll allow you to speak.
Yes. So I guess I also just wanted to add that this is an existing parking lot, which is typically black asphalt. And anything that we add on top of that that is a lighter color than that will be better and reduce that heat island effect than what just that open asphalt parking lot would be. So anything we put on there that's not black asphalt would theoretically be better and I'll say more green, somewhat loosely there, but it would be more beneficial to have that canopy there than to not have it there as far as a green area. I believe Paul on our team maybe wanted to mention something as well. I think he has his hand up.
Let's see here. Okay, I see a few hands. Okay, they didn't rise to the top. I see Alex Chavez and Paul. Paul, I need a last name. So when you get ready to speak, please state your first and last name. And you're on mute. I'm recognizing Paul.
Can you guys hear me?
Can now.
Oh, so my name is Paul Miller, and I am a construction consultant working with Peachy Parking. And to speak specifically to the idea of green, we feel like, as David just said, by covering an asphalt parking lot, we are going to significantly reduce the heat island. When anybody is hot, they don't go stand in the sun, they go stand in the shade. We've also picked a color that will not absorb heat, it will reflect heat, further reducing the potential of a heat island. But in conjunction with that, we are also significantly reducing, to speak to the green aspect, we're also significantly reducing the amount of impervious area and adding landscaping, which in our opinion significantly speaks strongly to the green initiative.
Thank you, Paul. Alex, I'm recognizing you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I'm the owner of the parking lot, and I've been there going on 15 years now. Or no, excuse me, 12 years, 13 years. And we were in front of the zoning committee a couple years ago. So I think we need to give a little bit of history, just so you know, when it comes to environmental. So we ended up buying somewhere in the neighborhood, don't quote me exactly, somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 15 acres there. So in order to get a parking lot, we had to go through your commission to rezone it into a commercial, because it was industrial before. So we zoned it to a lesser use. But more importantly, in order for us to get where we wanted to, we lost 4.5 acres, 4 to 4.5 acres of parking in my side. Everything's about parking, right? I'm trying to make as much money as I can in order to cover the cost. So if you go to the parking lot now, there's 4 acres that are all green. We have 2 retention ponds that we had to negotiate, and it wasn't with the city at the time. We had to negotiate with the Army Corps of Engineers for 2.5, 3 years. With that approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, we had to go to planning and zoning to build the parking lot. So what we were originally going to build 2,200 spaces or 2,400 spaces, we were reduced down to 1,200. So now we're down reduced to 1,200. We have more landscaping than any other parking lot that I run in the country when it comes to airports. And so I think that the green factor has been answered and addressed. For the roof, it's a branding thing. It has nothing, it's more of an ego thing. I'm more than happy, I'm telling you right now, to put a white colored roof on it, which is a standard color for a roof, and not worry about the branding and significantly reduce the price of the canopy. So to me, I think this has been a 4.5 year process, and it seems like there's always something that comes up. I was hoping, I was very generous. We were talking about building a bigger canopy and asking for the variance to go more into the street. Why give up that space? You can park more cars. And I said, no, let's just keep it the way it is. I'd rather have a nice street. I'd rather have it to be wide. I want to be part of, I went through all those committee meetings with Mr. He was Councilman Galloway at the time. And then there was I forget who the committee is, not the committee, but the people that live in that area. And they came back with full support of what we were doing. They loved the idea that we kept 4.5 acres with trees. We had to pay an extra $600,000 to replace every tree that we took out. So it's been one challenge after another. And so if it's coming down to the color of the roof, I have no problem. I'm giving it to you right now to put a silver roof, brown, whatever color you want it. I have to order it, but whatever color it is, I know for a fact lighter color roofs are much less expensive. So in my case, you're helping me out, but I want to make sure everyone's happy. Unfortunately, I hope I'm not showing my frustration of what I'm saying, but it's just been such a challenge, and it just seems like everything gets reduced. My consultant said I didn't want to change the fence. They said, you know what, you got to match the other side. That's Hapeville side. You want to make it look like it's all one area and that the street is good. So I said, fine, I'll do that too. So we put the new ornamental fence, which is 3 times as expensive as the fence that's there now. We're widening it for the landscape. We've done everything. I don't know what else. And now we're talking about, it's not going to work to put trees on top of that roof. Nothing will live there. If you guys know Owens Corning, you're very familiar with it. The soot that comes off the planes flying over there, we have a tough time keeping our plants alive now. And we do. We have full-time landscape people. If those trees are on top of a roof or whatever plants, it's going to be impossible. You're going to have nothing but dirt up there. Well, first of all, I won't do it, but I'm just telling you from a practical standpoint, that is some of the biggest soot from the airplanes and the jet fuel and the dust. And the reason why we want to put a canopy is to protect the cars and the people that are going to be parking there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so very much. And yes, I remember this case coming before us before, so I'm familiar with all of the things that you mentioned. And the frustration is about the vagueness of the ordinance. The frustration is, and so I just want to be very clear about that. And so that is a part of many of the things that we have to deal with and that we have to clean up. And we're in the midst of an ordinance rewrite. And so this is something that has to be addressed. So my question really is, if the staff is in opposition to you not complying with a green roof, then, and if we don't have in the ordinance a defined term for a green roof, then what is compliance? How do we know that you're out of compliance? So it is frustrating on both parts. If you're only using the green, that color green, because it's a branding, but it is not really the best color for the enhanced aesthetics, then my vote would be for another color so that it's just not sticking out like a sore thumb. And if that saves you money, great, then that would be wonderful too. And yes, fully understand, obviously with a covered area, shaded area, that reduces the heat island effect. My frustration was what was staff's opposition to the green roof. Tell us that, and it's difficult for them to tell because it's not a defined term in the document. So commissioners, you've heard that deliberation regarding the roof. And so the motion is to approve, which was made by Commissioner McKnight, and it was seconded by Commissioner Mark Fields. Commissioners, do you feel any way about the color? Would you like for the color to be an even lighter color, either a white or silver? Those two colors were mentioned by Mr. Chavez.
The color really doesn't matter to me, and I totally get it on the marketing standpoint with going with the green. From a branding perspective, you want to be consistent with that. I don't think it's really going to take away from the area. Only question that I had was just, you know, for it to come to us, it had to been a reason for the roof part. And I just want to make sure that it's clear for the applicant as well as everyone that the things that we have listed in that 1 to 5, is it a check mark on all of those things, or is it, you know, or is it only the color or green as far as environmentally green, making sure that it's clear whether or not we need to write it in so that they can go ahead and move forward. I remember this case as well. I just want to make sure they, you know, that it's clear to them so for us to move forward. So out of that 1 to 15, if there's check mark on everything else and the color green or green, and you know, for
as
the
it relates to sustainability.
Yeah, as it relates to that, if that's just, you know, I don't know how we would have to write it or whatever, but if we just write that so that they're able to go ahead and move forward, I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Commissioner McKnight. Commissioner Mark Fields.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to, as you say, perfect the record. I did not do the second, but if,
Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that was noted.
Who did the second?
I did the second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Bryant, I'm very sorry. Okay, motion made by Commissioner McKnight, seconded by Commissioner Bryant. Thank you for that, so that we can perfect the record. Okay, the motion is to approve. Commissioner, this body is the final arbiter on this as it is a variant. So our motion tonight and our action tonight is the final action on this. Currently, the motion is to approve, made by Commissioner McKnight, seconded by Commissioner Bryant. If there are no other comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor, sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed, sound the same. Hearing none, the ayes have it. This body approves this case. The next agenda item does require a public hearing, and it is also associated with the same street address. I will have to read the rules for public hearings, and I'll do that. Public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be conducted in accordance with Section 10-2219 of the East Point Zoning Code and Development Regulations. Public hearing rules are as follows. Persons both favoring and opposing the proposed case will be provided an opportunity to address the commission. The applicant for the zoning case or the applicant's designated representative, if any, will be entitled to speak first, followed by other speakers in favor of the proposal for a total of 15 minutes. Those who oppose the proposed zoning case will then be permitted to speak for a total of 15 minutes. By a majority vote, the commission may increase the total time of speakers provided that each side is given the same amount of time. If there's more than one speaker per side, the chair, the presiding officer, may limit the time allotted to each speaker other than the zoning applicant. The zoning applicant may reserve a portion of his or her time for rebuttal. Speakers must adhere to the rules of decorum. Prior to speaking, each speaker shall identify him or herself, state his or her current address, and address remarks only to the commission and shall refrain from making personal attacks on any other speaker. The providing officer may refuse a speaker the right to continue if after first being cautioned, the speaker continues to violate the rules of the forum. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard our rules for public hearing. Commissioners, at this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Is there a
Second,
second? It's been moved by Commissioner McKnight, second by Commissioner Lovett, that we open the public hearing. All in favor, sound aye.
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 All opposed, sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. The applicant, Mr. Dreyer, state your first and last name and your current address. You should have screen sharing capabilities, and the floor is yours.
Once again, my name is David Dreher. I'm with Randall Paulson Architects. My current address is 2477 Sims Drive in Marietta, Georgia. And is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so once again, this is for the same project. This is for Peachy Parking. This particular variance that we're looking at is for a landscape buffer encroachment. So we just talked about this building 100 that was over the building setback. If we go a little bit further north up Sylvan Road, our project encroaches on a landscape buffer that is on a portion of the site. So right now, the existing parking area is approximately 800 feet in linear distance along Sylvan Road right here. That 250 feet of that is within a landscape buffer. So this area in orange, and it continues off to the right, is within a 33-foot landscape buffer. So the intent that we want to move this or encroach on this is so that with our new curb line that we're pulling back on the southern end of the site, we can align our curbs. So we have a consistent curb line, consistent fence line and landscaping along the frontage of Sylvan Road. And with aligning our curb line on our site, it'll also help us just to maximize our auto parking, which is really the intent of our site and all of our paving. So we're encroaching, I believe 14 feet onto, into that setback, into that landscape setback. And it's also just for a distance of about 250 feet, where what we're adding onto the rest of this site, so we're adding more impervious by pulling our curb back on the south end of the site than what we're actually taking away on the north end of the site. By more than double we're adding. And then once again, we are planning in doing so to have our fence that we discussed before, a more decorative ornamental fence, and continue our landscaping down the length of our property. Just to help dress up our property and the road better. Another example photo of the site and where the existing fence is. And then the landscaping and fence on the other side of the site, which is close to what we'll be putting in as far as our intent, and the existing fence that's there. And also, I guess going back to this photo, in the current landscape setback, it is at the end of the road down here, but it is essentially just grass area at the moment. So we would be improving on what's there, even though we would be taking some of that away. And once again, so our new curb line would be here. Our landscape buffer would be approximately in this area. Our curb line on the south side as existing is approximately here. We're bringing our curb line back. And then this curb that we have that is up here at this landscape buffer area would be moving up. And where there is the landscape buffer, there is not a canopy that sits close to the road. The canopy there is set back much further from the road. This is just another example of just showing the fence and some of the landscaping that's there. Once again, this canopy would be set back much further from the road where this landscape buffer would be set. As you see back here in this area, this is really the corner that we would be looking at, which does not show up real well, but you can see there's a much more considerable distance from where this canopy is to the edge of where that paving would be to allow another aisle and more parking.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Okay, are there any other proponents to speak in favor of this? Any proponent here to speak in favor? Hearing none and seeing none, are there any opponents to speak against this zoning law? Any opponents to speak against? Hearing none and seeing none, commissioners, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Okay.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lovett, second by Commissioner Bryant, I believe, that we close the public hearing. All in favor, sound aye.
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 All opposed, sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The public hearing is now closed. Staff, would you please sound your recommendation?
Yes, Chair, I'll share my screen so I can read it. Bear with me here 1 second. Okay. Excuse me. In regards to this petition, and I read the note for the record, 2023 V-001-08, David Dreyer, for 3025 Sylvan Road, this variance request. Staff did look over the request and noticed that the, staff did notice the request, and we are going to mention something to the board in regards to the recommendation. A recommendation for approval was rendered and sent over to the Planning Commission. However, with further consideration, as mentioned by the owner, there is a specific condition. There is a specific condition that was a part of the zoning that's applicable for this site. Staff did not get to this particular item in due time, not fault of the applicant, but with that information being brought up regarding a condition regarding the landscaping, a variance could not fix this at this particular moment. I believe staff recommendation, well, I know the staff recommendation at this time will be to, I believe that we will need to hold this request. There may be some conflicts in regards to existing conditions with the request. So again, right now, staff's recommendation is to hold this item.
Okay, the proper term will be to defer. Is this the first time that the applicant is hearing that this is staff's recommendation this very moment?
That is correct. This is regards to a zoning modification.
No. Mr. McSwain,
Yes, sir.
my question is very specific.
Mhm.
Is this very moment the first time that the applicant is hearing that staff is recommending to defer this case?
That is correct. Staff did
And,
notify.
and when did staff
Yes.
realize that it had an issue with the variance request that would precipitate a deferral?
After the reports went out, staff, we did mention that we sat down and looked at the request and saw that there's a potential conflict with that. So this is not a fault of the applicant, but this is something that we can't move forward with, was the recommendation that we couldn't move forward with due to procedurally that a modification would be the best way to go about it.
Is there a reason why your response is very cryptic? Because you're stating that we can't move forward because of, I guess, a conflict in the modifications or something of that nature. And I'm asking that question is because then I feel uneasy about even supporting a deferral if the commission doesn't really know specifically. So is there something legally? Is there something that you can't share in a public forum? I'm not understanding.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Solomon.
Tyler, do you mind?
Ms. Solomon, you are recognized.
Thank you.
Hold on one second, Chair. Go ahead, Taylor. I'll mute myself.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Atkins. We do apologize. Staff did look over the conditions of the previous case that went over for the rezoning, and we did notice that there was a condition for the landscaping buffer, and those two conflict with the variance this evening. So this may be as a zoning modification instead of an additional variance. And this was just found out moments ago. So we did not have time to reach out to the applicant. So that is fault of staff. And we will work on this moving forward.
Okay, just so that I'm clear. So the previous case of the applicant at this address, 3025 Sylvan Road, in a ruling, there is something that is either conditioned or a part of that action that then would be in conflict with what they're asking for tonight. Is that what you're stating?
Yes, as the new case, yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. McSwain, could that not have been, that makes.
I try to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank
try
you.
to
Thank
be
you.
careful how
No, thank you.
Get that information.
But this is the first time that the applicant is hearing it, which is a challenge for me, because I don't like for the applicant particularly to be surprised on these. If there's going to be a deferral for a very logical reason, then that's understandable. But for the applicant to only find that out at the night of the meeting, I find that unacceptable. If there is a challenge with the bandwidth and the manpower in that office so that it can render the best possible service, I should hope that the director of the department is making that case very clear to the city manager, because this is not acceptable.
Understood.
This is not acceptable. And so I hear you when you say the onus and the fault is on staff, but it doesn't negate the fact that this is the first time that the applicant is hearing this, and it could put them in a situation where some things may need to be mitigated. And it's not a good look for us either as a city. So I'm very frustrated with that. So if there are issues with manpower, bandwidth, any of those things, I should hope that the director is making that case to the city manager so that the appropriate level of support can be assigned to that office.
Chair Atkins, I think that's something we can discuss with a follow-up with Director Smith when she's able to address this. But at this particular moment, I think that we could probably reserve a specific time to discuss that in full detail.
Commissioners, we've heard from the applicants and we've heard staff's recommendation. At this time, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner McKnight.
We're gonna a motion to defer.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner McKnight, seconded by Commissioner Lovett, that this item is deferred. Is there a time certain for the deferral, Commissioner McKnight?
Motion to defer to our meeting in November meeting.
And Commissioner Lovett, does your second still stand?
Yes, it does. Second.
Okay. The motion is made by Commissioner McKnight, seconded by Commissioner Lovett, that this item is deferred to our regularly scheduled November meeting. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed, sound nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion is, the application is deferred. To our November meeting. Next on the agenda, I believe, would be announcements. Staff, do you have any announcements or still for the body?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Commissioners, the only announcement that I have is that, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the process of gearing up for the zoning code rewrite. I met last week with the consultant that the city has hired for this. I have been very emphatic that I would not bring a entire ordinance to this body and ask the body to vote on this without the body having an opportunity to fully understand what has changed, what is redlined, and all of those things, and an opportunity to provide feedback as well. I recommended that we take the zoning ordinance in chunks and get through those chunks, redline them, amend those, address issues like we just had tonight about the green roof, and making sure that we have defined terms and things are clear, and for the staff, for the applicant, and for this body. And so the consultant is in agreement with that. And there was also a recommendation by the consultant that we do a tour of some of the areas in the city, particularly as it pertains to hotspots, where we have talked about overlays and all of those things. The consultant has said that they will make this recommendation to the city manager regarding this approach and this strategy. And so if they get the approval from the city manager, then we will come back to this body and ask the commissioners to participate in the tour, and also to provide any feedback as it relates to any zoning areas, any areas in the city that have some challenges as it relates to zoning and the type of policy that we may need to include in the zoning rewrite. That's the only announcement that I have. So at this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by
Second.
Commissioner Lovett, second by Commissioner Bryant, that we adjourn. All in favor, sound aye.
Aye.
All opposed, sound nay. Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for your time and your patience this evening. Everyone have a
Thank
good night.
you. Have a good
Good
evening.
evening.
Safe
Good night.
travels.
Thank you.
Good